When I respond to a domestic violence call, it's a mixed feeling of excited and anxiety, but you go back to your training and you're judging the scene and trying to get ready to expect the unexpected.
Went to a domestic violence incident in which a boyfriend killed his girlfriend and their 6-month-old child. That was probably the worst call that I had went to in my entire life. He strangled both of them, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
This woman was scalped. She was severely, severely injured. She was taken to the hospital. She remained in the hospital for, almost 3 weeks.
In June of 2009, we responded to a house with 4 people inside. One was a male intoxicated, throwing stuff. Arrive on scene with my fellow sergeant and fellow officer. We're on scene for a while, speaking with 2 of the victims. Suspect was more agitated, highly intoxicated, became aggressive towards us. An altercation went out. One of my partner officers was stabbed in the forearm, in which then I ended up shooting the suspect twice, and he later succumbed to the wounds.
It was a double homicide, and in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to see if there was something that we could do to prevent something like that in the future.
In 2012, Connecticut implemented the Lethality Assessment Program with 14 police departments across the state and 8 domestic violence providers. And during that time, we have been able to work with the police departments and the domestic violence providers to help provide safety for victims. This program came about because of a research that was done in Maryland by Dr. Jacqueline Campbell. 25 years of research, she was able to develop an 11-question survey that officers can ask at the scene of a domestic violence crime. And during that time, the officers can assess whether or not that victim is in high danger. The officers will conduct the lethality assessment, and from that information, they can make an immediate connection to the domestic violence services. Those connections, we have found, have helped provide immediate safety planning for the victims and have strengthened the collaboration between law enforcement and our domestic violence programs. One of the reasons that Connecticut looked at the lethality assessment program was that in Maryland, when they studied 2,500 homicides, they found police officers were on scene 50% of the time prior to those homicides, but in only 4% of those cases did the victims reach out for assistance. We saw this as an opportunity to make that connection immediately and to get more people involved in the safety planning and helping them with services. In 70% of the time, when the victim speaks with a domestic violence provider, they then follow up with continued services. The domestic violence advocate takes these seriously and continues with that follow-up to help with the safety planning and with providing all of the resources needed to keep that victim safe. The questionnaire consists of 11 questions. They are straightforward and simple questions requiring a yes or no response from the victim. The first 3 questions, if they're answered yes, would automatically dictate a referral to the domestic violence provider. However, we encourage officers to ask all 11 questions in the order in which they're presented and in the manner in which they're worded. So the officers would ask those questions, and at the conclusion of the entire screen, then make an assessment as to whether or not a protocol has been met where they would call the domestic violence provider. All of this information would be gathered and given to the domestic violence provider. It is my hope that through this training, you will learn tactics and techniques to help keep victims safe. You will ask appropriate questions and be able to evaluate a victim's safety immediately and provide them with the services that they'll need by connecting them to the domestic violence providers so that they are safe and they stay alive.
Hi, Elizabeth. Part of what we do at the police department is we have a lethality assessment tool. And we do this to make sure that you're safe and to make sure that you're not in any danger of being harmed. So it's a set of questions that we'll just go through just to make sure that you're okay. The first one is has he ever used a weapon against you or threatened you with a weapon?
Yes.
Has he threatened to kill you or your children?
Yes.
Do you think he might try to kill you?
No.
Does he have a gun or can he easily get one?
No.
Has he ever tried to choke you?
No.
Has he violently or constantly jealous, or does he control most of your daily activities?
Yes.
Have you left him or separated with him since being married?
No. I couldn't. He would track me down.
Okay. Is he unemployed?
Yes.
Has he ever tried to kill himself?
Yes.
Do you have a child that he knows is not his?
No.
Does he follow or spy on you or leave threatening messages?
Yes.
Elizabeth, is there anything else that worries you about your safety?
I'm a little bit worried that if I left, he would come and harm our pets or our house. So I'm a little worried about that.
Okay. Elizabeth, because of some of your answers to the questions on the questionnaire, I'm concerned for your safety. So I'd like to make a phone call to a domestic violence advocate so they can help put a safety plan together for you.
Okay.
This questionnaire allows for officers to make referrals based on their own belief, meaning that if they do not have the appropriate number of yes responses, they can still make a referral to the domestic violence program based on the totality of all of the circumstances that they've looked at. So therefore, an officer's training and experience is very important when they are conducting these interviews.
My name's Nick Mullins. I'm a sergeant with the Plainville, Connecticut Police Department. We began using the Lethality Assessment Program about a year and a half ago. Naturally, early on, some officers were a little hesitant and looked at the program as just another form they had to fill out. Our administration worked very hard to first influence supervisors, because supervisors are the ones out in the field ensuring that the program's done and it's done correctly. I can remember how we used to treat family violence. Not that we didn't treat it seriously, it's just we didn't treat it with the urgency that we do now. So I think the LAP screen kind of just puts all the pieces that were already there, puts them together in one format, a consistent approach that each and every police officer is using in our department when responding to a family violence incident.
My name is Matt Fedor. Been with the Waterford Police Department for about 9 years now. Before, when we were responding to domestics, physical or verbal, prior to having the LAP training, our concern was always figuring out what happened. If we had to arrest someone, remove them, that was it. And when you left the scene, it almost felt like it was missing something because you just left the victim at home. Now with the LAP program, it opens the door for more opportunities to assist the victim and more care towards the victim, while you're still taking care of the situation and arresting the suspect that you need. I think LAP makes the dangerous situation more real to everybody. The victim, the police officer, they could see it on a piece of paper. Wow, I screened it at high danger level. Okay, we're going to connect you with an advocate right away. Getting in contact with an advocate is getting the wheels in motion to come up with a safety plan, which many times probably did, if not save their life, save them from future abuse at the hands of that, intimate partner.
I'm Antoinette. I work at Safe Futures. I answer the LAP calls when they come in. Having the LAP system in place has really changed to a great degree, how we work with victims. And it works out to be a more succinct, it's direct, it gives us the ability to work as a team, the police department and the hotline advocate, the LAP advocate. And it creates a kind of the bond that we can create as we're dialoguing with people through this very difficult time and all this trauma, really makes the police officer seem more human and personal, and it also helps us to be able to connect with the victim, so that the victim really feels more comfortable at every stage. The LAP interview, the dialogue that the police officer and I have, and we always make sure that when we're dealing with the victim, that the victim is very well aware that this is a team effort and we're not going to leave them alone, we are going to service them, and we're going to make sure that they're safe from that point on.
My name is Lieutenant Bruce Lowe, and I'm with the City of Groton Police Department. I'm currently serving as a support services lieutenant in the City of Groton Police Department. I think officers are much more cognitive of some of the cues to domestic violence incidents that would lead them to believe that it may be a more serious incident than that they previously had thought. I think it makes officers delve a little deeper into maybe past history to see if there has been a prior history of domestic violence. It definitely, officers are thinking a little bit more about it.
For me, when I go to a residence for a domestic situation, whether verbal, physical, whatever it might be, the lab doesn't seem to help me when I go there, but when I'm dealing with the victim afterwards, it feels that I can offer them more than, well, he was arrested and we'll see what happens, or she was arrested, good luck almost, because we leave at that point. But now it seems with LAP, it opens the door and gives the victim more opportunities than just us leaving.
Our department treats all family violence incidents as serious. So we never felt that the role of the police should end once an arrest is made. With the Lethality Assessment Program, the police now play a more active role in facilitating assistance for the victims, such as by putting them in phone contact with an advocate right from the scene. It almost empowers them because they know they're playing a major role in facilitating assistance for the victim. That's what we want to do all along. So instead of just telling the victim, hey, you may want to consider, for us it's Prudence Crandall, you may want to consider reaching out to Prudence Crandall within a day or two. Now, we'll place the phone call for them and we say, we think it's in your best interest to connect with a victim advocate. And the victims certainly appreciate it because they now look at us like, oh wow, they really care about my safety.
There's something that happens when you're working with the police officers and when they are working with us. It may seem intangible, but in that brief dialogue, and we don't have a lot of time because the police officers are busy, as we are, and it says to those victims, I really must be important. Not only is that police officer with me and helping me, but they haven't left me hanging. They gave me to someone else to speak with, and then I can speak with them and tell them what we can do for them.
I want to stress too that the Lethality Assessment Program not only benefits victims, it benefits police officers as well. It's formalized and creates a structure to which we were looking to do anyway. Officers in the field now don't have to worry that they forgot to ask the victim a specific question because the questions are laid out for them on a piece of paper. We now provide a more consistent approach to safety planning and to assessing the dangerousness of a situation. So another way it's helped us is we found, among other things, we can use a screen-in to help justify a high bail amount. I'll go back to how our department treats family violence. All of them are serious. Therefore, the bail for the offender should reflect the seriousness of the charges. So if we get a screen-in from a victim, again, we can use that, among other things, to help justify a high bail amount.
When those questions were asked, and when those police officers stayed with her and worked with her, and I worked with her with them, that was really the first time that for this victim, she got it. She got that she almost died.
I think the program is working, and we've had some good responses from the community about it, and I believe we've maybe saved some individuals from being seriously injured or possibly being killed because of that.
I have no doubt that the lap screen has saved lives.
The best outcome that we can hope for is that the police officer and the victim advocates can work together to not only keep the victim safe, but alive.